Spark. International Women's Day.
Hello and welcome to our Women in Music panel discussion as part of the FEM 2020 series happening all week on Spark, all in celebration of International Women's Day. I'm Emma Millen and joining me today is Laura, who founded her own music management business back in 2017. She works as an artist manager, booking agent in the Netherlands and the UK. We are also joined by two artists, Jamila and Sophia, who have both featured on Spark's local music playlist. Our last guest is Abby, who is founder of Sound Lass, which aims to support women and non-binary people who have an interest in working in the music industry, and Abby is currently working as a sound engineer. Thank you all for joining me. So we're going to be talking about all things women in music. So just to get to know you a bit more, what is the first thing that you've had to experience when you were in the music industry as a woman? A challenge or anything? Start with you.
I started managing a band from the Netherlands and they said to me we were going to do an EP release and I was like, okay, yeah, why not? And they said, so we need a location, and I went to basically look around Amsterdam because that's where they were based, and I went to one location and the owner looked at me and was like, you're what? The manager? And I was like, thank you for your time, and I walked away and I was like, nah, we're not doing it there. I did luckily find another venue that was amazing, but that was where I was like, okay, so this is what it's going to be like.
Do you think you've overcome that though?
Yeah, well, I'm just, like, I've got a lot of experience now. I've done it a lot of times and I've met a lot of people that were like, you don't work for the people that don't believe in you, you work for the people that do believe in you. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So whenever I see something that I'm like, they're not going to help me the way I want them to help me, I'll just turn away and go like, okay, we'll just find someone else.
Jamila, what about you?
I feel like it's something that you fight against constantly. I think being a woman, people look at you in a different light, especially when you have to do things a lot by yourself. So going into sessions on your own with producers who are 99% of the time men, I think that's quite difficult because I feel like they already think there's a shift in who's got the upper hand without ever even saying anything. Before you step into the room, it already feels like the charge is different. So I feel like that's something I've always struggled with, it even since starting 10 years ago. I still feel like I face it today, so it's something that I'm constantly feel like I'm always working on. I feel like it never stops.
What about you, Sophia?
I think it's just about believing in yourself, like, and that it's about what you're passionate about. So the music, regardless if you're a man or a woman, if the music's good, the music's good, no matter who it's come from. And like what Jamila said, people look at you differently. Like a few weeks ago, I was doing the video for my my song that I've just released, and I was wearing an outfit that it's just an outfit I wanted to wear. I liked it. I was wearing it for me, but because I was out and about, you do get a lot of looks off men, and you do feel intimidated, and you do feel like, should I be wearing this? Am I suggesting something? But you're not. You're just wearing it because you want to, and it's for a purpose. And I think you've just got to really push it to the back of your head and just think, for me.
Abby, what's your experience?
Oh, so much. I think with being in sound, it's almost a little bit like different to sort of music. Obviously, you guys all sort of come from a music background, whereas sound goes down so many avenues where it's just totally different, and it's, you know, it's so like negatively male dominated, and it's like that becomes a problem because then you deal with a lot of toxic masculinity. There's a lot of, oh, you can't do that, surely you don't want to do that, you're a woman, like surely you don't want to be in this industry. And it's like, you know, because of the nature of the job, which is late nights, early starts, hard work, you know, they automatically assume that gender is everything to do with that, and like you don't want to do that because it's predominantly just males that work in the industry. But yeah, I have to deal with like a lot of stuff, you know. It's like, you know, people asking like, oh, are you here, like, are you one of the band's like girlfriends? And it's like, no, I'm actually here doing the sound for the gig. And it's like people are like really taken back by it, and it's, you know, people always seem to be surprised by the fact that you're a woman as a sound engineer. And there's just so like there was no women working in sound. Like there was a handful working in the Northeast, and it's, you know, really disappointing. And it's really sad, and it's like we all have the same experiences, which is why I know I'm not like the singularity in all of it. Like it's not just me that it's happening to, it's all of the women that are in like the sound industry in the Northeast that it's happening to, and everyone sort of shares the same story, whether you're a female artist or a female sound engineer. It's across the board. So I've had so much experience of it. So
I think as well with Laura as well, obviously you two are musicians, but especially working like not on stage with you two, how is that, because you said about being a manager, people do look at you funny and think, how can I be a manager, but how can you not? You know what I mean?
Well, exactly, and it's that goes for females and males, because every time I tell people like I'm a manager, they go, how do you do that? I'm like, well, a lot of it is just doing and reaching out to people and asking for what you want, and it's quite simple. And honestly, I do have a degree in music management, but I do think that everyone can do it. But I do get that a lot of girls, like I had it a lot of times, what you said as well. I was being at the gig where the band that I managed at the time was playing, and two older men just came up to us and was like, so who's your boyfriend? And I was like, well, none of them is. I work for them, I work with them, and they just looked at me and just walked off. Also, because I'm sometimes, as soon as that happens, I just get like really like careful now, and they were like, oh, okay, a bit taken aback, especially because I'm a bit of a, like, I'm a small girl, you know, and people don't expect that, and I'm like, they sometimes are surprised when they see me after we've been talking over email. I'm like, well, yeah, why are you surprised?
I think as well it's something to do with, we're all young women. I think it's something to do with our age that older men think that they can put us down a bit more.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, it's the way you, what they might look at and just expect you to be like. You don't know someone until you know them properly. You can't judge them off what you see.
Especially as well as in sound engineering, I would put that as a male dominated, as well as everything is male dominated, but that one I would say is top.
Oh yeah, I mean I work with like quite a range of sort of female artists and female sound engineers, all of different ages, and I would have to say that they face like a lot of the similar issues as well. And I think it's important to almost like sort of be a voice for that if you're sort of planning on doing something where you're speaking out about the issues, because I think a lot of the time older women in the sound industry, in the music industry, you know, may have families, might not, and that's always, again, that's another question. It's like, oh, well, what are you going to do about your kids if you want to go on tour with a band and do their sound? And it's like, well, actually, you can sort of find a really comfortable work-life balance. It does take a bit of work, but you can really do it. And again, that's sort of the issue around like age and stuff. Like, you know, people always sort of assume like, and I get this a lot, but people are like, oh, well, you must get gigs because you're pretty and young, and it's like, well, no, I actually get gigs on the basis that I work really hard, and like I try, like every time I work a gig, I try really hard to make it perfect. And there's, you know, there's older women that I work with who are, you know, sound engineers as well, and they are absolutely like phenomenal. Like they work so hard. The mixes that they do are phenomenal and amazing. And just, you know, it's not necessarily you're not going to get the work because you're pretty and you're young. It's like, you know, you'll get it if you work hard, and that's it. That's the be all and end all of it. It's, you know, it's the work that you put into it, not necessarily just, oh, you're young and you're pretty, but, you know, even across the sort of spectrum of age, you get the same issues. So it's very disappointing to know that as soon as I'm like, you know, in my 30s or a bit older, it's like I'm still going to have to deal with the same issues regardless of my age. But yeah.
Do you think that is what has to change as being the main issue? Yeah,
I think the sort of what needs to change is almost the way that we look at the industry in general. So I think it's like, there seems to be a lot of negativity as a whole across it, and it's a really sad thing to see, because it's like people coming into work and being like, oh, I can't really be arsed, and it's like, well, you know, if everyone has like sort of uplifting attitude, you know, why can't you be arsed? Why can't you be bothered to come here and be at this gig? Like, what's the problem? And then if everyone's sort of more in the conversation, communicating like what's upsetting them and stuff, because that's definitely a thing for me. Like, there's so many times where I'm just like, I really don't want to be here today, and then I'll have someone come along and make a really misogynistic comment, and it just makes my day worse. And it's like, right, okay, I think the problem is that we need to just be more vocal about all of the issues that are happening, because as soon as we start to do that, the sooner we sort of sort out the issues that are going on. So yeah, things like this, perfect for that. I think we're starting a conversation here. We're sort of communicating the different things that we've seen, the different things that we all went through, and to sort of get that is perfect. So.
And you think with being local artists as well, how do you think about being being in this industry, especially in the Northeast. So I have learned that as being on the radio as part of Spark, we get a lot of local music. We are all about local music, and everyone that comes through our door is an indie boy band. Literally everyone.
Yeah.
There is exceptions, and you know, we've been trying to get as many as possible, but how do you, especially in the Northeast, how is it being a local artist? What is the scene like?
It's hard because it's very cliquey and it's quite small. I felt like that I had to travel away from the Northeast to do music. After I graduated from here, I moved to London because I felt like it was just difficult getting the gigs and getting them often enough. So I moved to London for 2 years before I moved back, and now that I've came back, I feel like it hasn't really changed that much. There's not a lot of prominent women in the scene at the moment, which is a shame. So I feel like there is a gap in the market for all of it, from all different genres, because like you say, it is majorly ran by this boy band, the indies. They love it here, which is something that I've kind of gotten used to, and it's something that I've just kind of tried to work around.
How do you like compete against it though?
I feel like I don't ever try to compete against it. I'm in my own lane. It's completely different. If that's what you like, that's what you like. I'm never really going to try and change your perception on that, but I've got my own thing, and if that's what you like, then come listen. It's never a case where it's a competition. It's never that.
And you're actually in a band full of boys.
Yeah.
So how is that for you?
Well, I've never had, to be honest, they're lovely, so I literally can't say a bad word about them. But I just think the big thing is I'm quite new to the Newcastle music scene because I moved to London straight after I left school, and I did music there for 3 years. So coming back, I do feel a bit like I'm coming into this already formed situation. But I think for me also with girls, we've just got to break the stigma that people think girls are against each other. Like, we're not. Like, big up other girl musicians, like share everything, just do it as one and come together.
I think it's especially in the Northeast, it's not competitive because we are sort of like,
but I guess it can be like, it's, yeah.
But especially with women, it's like just getting that one up above the boys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and getting, it's always, I've seen it like, especially in Sunderland, it's always the indie boys, and I can even name which ones it is. To the point there, I know, I can't do it. But just getting that foot up and being the one that's headlining, or being that one person.
Yeah.
So from that, what do you think needs to change, or what needs to happen to for young artists, especially in the Northeast, to just get that foot up?
We all need to work together, always, because I'm Dutch, and I've literally moved to 7-8 months ago. Now I think I knew the right people because I got into like their group, and all of a sudden everyone around me, I was like, how is everyone my age and also in the music industry? That didn't happen in the Netherlands because I felt everyone was a lot older, and I felt I really was like the baby there. And here I feel like that I'm not. But basically, you can do a lot yourself, but you have to believe in yourself. And you only believe in yourself if other people say like, come on, we did this, you can do this. And it's so much just being together. Like so my partner Jay, who does Pillar Autism, together we've got Rebel Rose, our own label. And he set up the Northern Music Collective, which is basically supposed to be everyone together, work together, and you reach so much more when you do things together. Like if you organise a gig with 4 people, you've already got a broader audience than when one promoter does it.
Yeah.
And then the same goes for a band. Like if you want to play and you see another band that's playing, you don't go, oh shit, like we're competitive now. You just make sure that you can get on that bill, or make sure that you do it another day, and just have them come to your gig as well. So I think that's the most important thing, definitely.
What advice would you give anyone that wants to, especially a young woman that wants to get into the music industry? What advice would you give them?
Never stop. Never stop. No matter how slow it might seem, just keep doing it, keep grinding, keep doing what you love, and never let anything stop you. I swear, if it's something that you love, then you should do it for as long as you can. It's the best thing in the world.
So we do have help schemes in the Northeast, but what else do you think needs to happen?
I think you just got to believe in yourself. Like, don't let anyone tell you that you can't. And if you are sitting on an idea and someone's in your ear or putting thoughts in your head, you should change it, you should do this, you should do that. If you feel in your gut what is right, you've got to for yourself. I think it was Stormzy said at the Brits when he won his award, he was like, I've won this award, but my team is just full of strong women. I think that just says everything.
I've got this.
Cross Stormzy.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Brits, I'm glad that you said that. So it was the Brits 3 weeks ago. I have no idea, no concept of time. And it's been said that it would hit the papers, not only the Brits or the movie award ceremonies, that not even women are winning. They're not even getting nominated. What do you feel about this? You're shaking your head strongly.
Yeah, I mean, I ran an event last year and I sort of spoke about a couple of the statistics that came out from like examples like the Brits, the Grammys, like NME, the music awards and things like that. And it's almost like the problem does lie with like the nominations, and it lies with the sort of representation across the spectrum of the industry. So as opposed to just female artists, which again there is not enough representation of in them awards, like at all, not as near as it should be to what the guys are getting. But in terms of like female producers, female composers, songwriters, literally across that whole thing, like mix and engineers, they all win awards, and it just never seems to be sort of represented. I think the nominations for women in sort of producing and songwriting, I think it was like 12% or something of the industry that wins awards for that kind of thing. 12% of it is women, and that's really, really bad. Like, that's not good at all. Like, there needs to be better representation, especially with awards, because that's where people look. So, for example, if you are a high grossing band, if you're going on tour, if you're new to the industry but you've got a lot of money and you kind of want to spend it on a good producer, the first thing you'll do is look at it, like nominations and awards and stuff, who's won what, who's going places, who's mixed this album. And because of those award ceremonies, you'll see, all right, okay, well, there's a bunch of guys doing it, not a lot of women doing it, so clearly, you know, I'm gonna go for a guy, which is such a problem. Like, that's so bad. So definitely, like, they need to be sort of looking at the industry closer, because I seriously see so many like female producers and songwriters and literally across the board who are working so hard and doing such a good job that just don't get to see nominations and things like that. So
there is so many massive names in the music industry, like females as well. They are massive, but why aren't they getting nominated? Why not even the nomination? What do you think, Jamila?
It doesn't make any sense to me, because I love the women, like Beyonce's, like Solange's, everyone, do you know what I mean? To me, they're all that I listen to, so I don't really, like, I know that a lot of people do look towards the big shows like that, but I never really watch them. I just listen to what I listen to and I enjoy it. So that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm baffled that it is like that, because women are the best.
Exactly.
What's going on? What's going on here? It's a madness, but I feel like it's this world that we live in, isn't it? It's always been men number one, and they were behind, but we're killing it regardless. So that's all that matters.
Exactly.
And I think changes are happening, because I think a lot of men recognise it as well.
Yeah.
A lot of men are bigging women up, and they are acknowledging us. So I don't know what is not, like, if something behind the scenes is not, I don't know.
I've seen there was a massive kick-off with the Brits on Twitter. It was huge that women were not getting even the nomination.
It was for the best band, not one. There was no females in there
at all. And there was only 2 songs nominated for the best song, which was Mabel and Miley Cyrus. And
How?
The best song?
Yeah.
Them two.
That was all. So they're not even getting in there. So it is a massive issue. And I think as well, social media pushes it on a bit more. So like, yes, we could watch it and think of it, but when people start to kick off on social media, we sort of see it more. And I think people will see it and think, you know what, things need to change.
Yes.
Like, what do you think with like social media?
Love it. No, but it is. I feel like it's a voice in its own, and I think that it's a chance for people to really get the points across. And the whole retweeting thing and sharing thing, it's massive. And I really feel like that the generation that we're in today, like, we look at social media for our news and for what's big right now and what we need to be watching and how we need to think, really. So I feel like if it's kicking off on social media, then it's doing its job.
That's what I think, that obviously I said before that we're all young women, and older men will not be on social media and they will go on their life and we will rise up and, you know, the whole shebang. But we'll go on to gigs. You'll all have been a lot of gigs, done a lot of gigs. As well as that, of being women being safe in gigs. I've been to a few gigs where I've felt a bit like, the boys are taking over here, let me take a step back. What do you think in the Northeast, whether you're seeing an artist or performing, do you think that the women take a step back in being there, if you know what I mean?
I feel like the men run everything, so even whenever I do shows, I've never seen a female engineer, and I've been doing it for so long. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like they're setting up. Like even when I'm in studios, I never see it. It's sad when you think of it. When you think of it, because I know that we're more than capable of doing an even better job than the men that we're working with. So it's a real shame.
I've got some stats here. 30% of women and 30% of women and 43% of women under 40 experience unwanted sexual contact at festivals. Have you ever had experienced this yourselves?
Yeah.
Oh my god, like so many
Nodding
times.
heads.
Like,
Nodding heads.
One of the first ever gigs that I worked, and I'll not name the venue or anything like that because I don't think that'd be very fair, but one of the first gigs I ever worked, the sound desk is sort of at the back away from the stage, you can still see, but you're surrounded by the audience as opposed to just being in your own little booth. And the amount of times, and I've worked in that venue multiple times, and the amount of times that people, especially drunk men, would just come around the back of the sound desk and try and grope us.
Yeah.
Absolutely
It's awful.
disgraceful. And it's not even just in that one venue. I've had so many examples of it where I've maybe been like on a stage coiling cables and my back's been in the audience and I've heard someone like actually shout stuff like, oh, nice arse and everything. It's like, really? Like, do you need to say that? Because you definitely wouldn't say that if it was a guy up there. Like, hands down, it wouldn't happen. And so many times I've had to sort of, if there's been like a problem on stage and I'm back at the desk and I've had to like sort of weave my way through an audience to get to the stage, and I've just had someone like grab my shoulder and try and take his like underneath their arm and things, and you almost have to like fight your way back, but you can't be violent about it, otherwise, you know, you'll get in trouble. And that sounds really bad because you should absolutely be allowed to be violent if someone tries to grope you.
Absolutely.
Like, my response now is to just sort of shout really loudly and like be very sweary, which I'm gonna not do here. But, you know, that's like sort of my response to it. But I still feel like it's like they are almost putting you in a position where you don't have power. Like, because that's what it is. It's not, oh yeah, I'm gonna grope them because I feel like doing it and that's how I feel. It's like, no, I'm going to do it because I can see that she's in a busy situation, she's maybe in a stressful situation, she's trying to get something done. I'm just going to go for it and do it because I'm powerful here and she isn't. That's why it happens. But, you know, as a sound engineer, I've worked a lot of gigs, sort of small gigs is usually what I'm doing now. I do it most nights of the week. And I've done big gigs as well, and I've gone to big festivals. And to see it happening in big festivals, not just at little gigs where, you know, there's not security at little gigs, but at festivals they've got a whole show select team, and it still happens. That's a problem. That's a really big problem, and it needs to be looked at. And
we were all nodding our heads there.
Yeah.
30% of women. Out of them 30% of women and 43% of women under 40, 1% of them women will report their experience to the festival staff. So,
Because you get scared that you get laughed at almost, which is stupid because yeah, and it's like, because people, they don't think they're doing anything wrong, these men, if they make a comment or they look at you a certain way, but if you actually sat them down and told them exactly how you'd they'd made you feel, they might think twice, like, oh, actually that's really ruined someone's day. And yeah,
I think a lot of times when you report it, they would go, that's what I had, because I worked at a lot of bars as well in the Netherlands and over here. And that, what you said about the groping, happens so much. And seeing it do some security guys, I mean, some just go, okay, he's out. But some just go, yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. And I'm like, why? It's already happened. But yeah, I've only realised this lately, because a lot of times when it happened, I was just like, okay, so that happened, and yes, I'm just going to get over this. And I think a lot of people have that, and that's why that 1% is ridiculous.
do you think even men realise that they're doing it?
I
I think it's just a given. It's just kind of a second nature. They don't even, like, I'm pretty sure that it just happens and they don't even think about it. Like, if anyone was to bring them up on it, they'd be like, what did I even say?
Yeah.
It's just so normal. It's became so normalised now that that's what the problem is.
I think as well, for me personally, I've got a lot of lad friends and, you know, we joke around and all the rest of it, but sometimes that I'm so, like, used to it, and I shouldn't be, but sometimes something will happen and I think, oh, that, like, it's fine, like, you know, that just happened, but, like, I'm alright, because I'm not, like, a girl that will report it or anything. Like, I'm just me, so I'll get on with it. But then I sometimes think and sit down and think, that actually happened to me, and that actually could have been reported, or something could have changed. So what do you think needs to be done? Like, as you said, it is actually just accepted now. How can we make it not acceptable?
I think it sort of starts at you saying that it's not okay, and again sitting down and having these conversations with men who, you know, would admit to doing it. And I don't think anyone would admit to doing it, which is a problem in itself. But it's, you know, if it happens at a gig and you maybe see the guy that did it to you after the gig, just go over. Even if it takes like a lot of guts to do it, you just have to go over and be like, you did that to me, I'm not comfortable about it. If you think they're going to have a violent response, don't do it. But, you know, you could always even speak to a member of bar staff, a member of security that's working the gig. If there's no security, again, go back to the bar staff, try and speak to a manager and say, this has happened in your venue, what are you going to do to, you know, stop it from happening again? And I think, like, almost working with some of the bigger venues in the UK and, you know, surrounding areas and stuff, and just being like, what are you going to do to make this space that you're having, like, safe for everyone that's coming to gigs? What are you going to do? Like, because yes, you can have show sec, but how are you going to guarantee that the show sec people or the security people are going to be like, yeah, okay, well, this woman here is just being sexually harassed? And, you know, how are you going to guarantee that they're not just going to be like, oh yeah, well, happens, you seen what she was wearing and stuff like that? Because that can be a response too. I've had that before, and, like, you know, I've gone over to a member of security and be like, I've just been groped, and they've said, well, have you seen what you're wearing? And I'm like, ha, okay, I'm going to go now because I feel totally uncomfortable. But yeah, like, you know, just sort of working with venues for them to have a guarantee that they're going to make a safe space for women and for vulnerable people. You know, even if it's just having a sort of a section of the venue where they can go and speak to somebody if it's happened, or, you know, just somewhere where they can, like, be guaranteed some sort of support or a place to just calm down. Because I know after it happened, when it's happened to me, you know, I've been very sort of, like, upset, and not even upset, but angry to the point where I cry, because I'm an angry crier. But, you know, and I've just sort of been like, I can't cry because I'm working, and people are going to think I'm vulnerable and weak and everything like that. So if we just had, like, a sort of space, even if it's an area behind the bar where you can go and speak to another woman or speak to someone that's trained to deal with issues like that, it'd be so good, and it would be so much better than just leaving people to be angry. Like, that's really what needs to happen. So
we had a massive gasp there from you.
Yeah, so we do, I know in the Netherlands we do have I Am OK, which is like a national, now the Netherlands are a lot smaller than the UK, but there's a national campaign where there's like a sticker on a venue, and you know that when you go there, people will be watching, or are supposed to be watching you, so people at the bar or managers, or just look around, and when something happens, that person will go out. Now we've got the call for Angela at the bars. That is a good campaign, but it keeps complete, you don't know who the people are that are doing something. So that would be that when someone gropes you and you can go up to the bar, or you have a bad date and the guy is like really scary or whatever, something happens, you go to the bar and you say, I'm looking for Angela, and they'll just basically just call you a cab and you can go out, and they'll make sure that you're safe. But that means that a lot of times nothing else happens. So that girl might be safe, but the rest of the venue is still there, and that person might still be there. And actually, I think it's something nationally should happen, like a national campaign where they just take care of, or like make sure that you know, like that you have a safe space. It's basically the same as saying you can't have smoking areas in venues anymore, but now we need a safe space for women.
You were saying it as well, Abby, that the classic, well, you were wearing, look what you were wearing. Yeah. You were saying before as well that you wore something for a music video.
Yeah. And that got me to feel like it was my fault that people were looking. But I was wearing that because I wanted to wear it, not because I wanted them to look.
How do we stop this stigma of like, well, look what you were wearing, the exact them words. Oh, I hate them.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, we can wear some outrageous stuff, but why? Why not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
it's-
Should be nothing wrong with it.
No.
We should be able to wear what we want. If men can wear what they want, why can't we?
And that's not even like, because, so people say that's a thing, but I've also been groped, and like, there's nothing really uncovered here, so it has nothing to do with that. It's just, that's just an excuse. That's all it is. And like, even if I would be naked on the street, then you touching me is still not right.
Absolutely. Especially as well, do you think that in the music industry and in like music videos, do you think women are very sexualised? They still are. But more and more people are trying to stop this. Like Billie Eilish, she says that
That's why she wears baggy stuff.
so she's not sexualised.
Yeah.
Do you think more women need to do that, or do you think more people need to do the opposite and say, actually...
Opposite,
Opposite,
definitely.
it's like Little Mix, they got absolutely slated for what they wore on tour or something like that because they wear
You're too sexy.
too sexy,
Yeah.
but why not? Why aren't they allowed to celebrate the body they've got? Like,
And it's nice as a woman to feel sexy, to
Yeah.
get dressed up. Like, I absolutely love it. Like, I look forward to doing video shoots and
Yeah.
photo shoots where I can wear whatever I want, because it's part of the creative process. It's dressing up. It's something that myself as a woman, I enjoy doing it. I should never have to not do that because you feel some type of way.
and also I feel like you can't win with it because then also if you did a music video in a bin bag and looked like rubbish, you get slated for that. So what do we wear?
Yeah, like she still gets like sort of, you know, just negativity directed towards her for covering herself up, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, she's obviously 18 now, but like everyone was like, oh well, she's 17, like, you know, it's gonna, when she's gonna be 18, it's gonna be like a guessing game. Is she gonna like come and do like a proper naked music video? And it was like, that is so gross. Like, why? Like, why are you gonna do shit like that? Like, it's so bad. But I think like, you know, it should be the opposite way around. Like, you know, we shouldn't have to cover ourselves up. We shouldn't have to be like, oh, well, you know, because people are like sort of hypersexualizing every sort of female music video. We shouldn't have to be like, right, okay, well, there's never going to be a boob in a music video ever again. Like, it should be like, actually, no. Like, we should be able to liberate ourselves as much as humanly possible. Like, it shouldn't be a problem. I hate it when people are like, no, you should cover up. No, I'm not going to cover up. I'm not going to make myself uncomfortable just because it makes you feel like kind of, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so bad. I hate it.
Absolutely. We ran a poll on Spark. We said, would the representation or lack of female artists stop you from going to a music festival? And only 35% of people said yes. So people wouldn't be stopped going to the music festival because there wasn't enough women. Now, I'd like to ask you the same question. If there wasn't enough women in the lineup, would you still go? Yes or no?
I would, and that's basically, well, I go to a music festival because of the music that I like, and it's sometimes it's a hard choice because I'm like, I don't agree with this, and this girl should have been headlining or whatever. And that's the whole problem, because the festival organisers want to sell tickets. So if there's a male band that's very, very popular, then they will book them. So it's a tough one, but I would still go.
I think I'd still go, yeah. As long as I like the lineup, I'd be there.
I would go if I like the music because it's about the music, not the gender.
And Abby?
I'm indifferent. I mean, I find it really hard because, you know, a lot of the sort of local festivals I have to go anyway because of work. And I always find it's really good to just go, even if it's halfway down the country, because you never know who you're going to run into in terms of making contacts, and you need to have contacts to work in this industry. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen. Like, you need to get out there, you need to speak to people, you need to just be there and support. Like, say if a local artist is playing a festival down in London, you just so happen to be there. Go to support them, make a contact with their manager. Maybe you'll get booked for their next gig or something like that. But, you know, in terms of sort of lineups and looking at that, I can't remember her name, I'm going to kick myself because it's right on the tip of my tongue, but she basically edited every festival lineup from the UK and took out all of the male artists, and for what sort of artists were left which had female artists in or were just female artists, there was like 5 on each poster.
There was like
It
one of them, there was
so
like
bad.
3.
It's loose
Yeah,
in the
Download
report, yeah.
Festival, which I'm really gutted. Like, I'm a massive rock music person, and I went to Download last year, and I saw some really bad stuff at Download. Like, for example, I went to go see the Beaches, who are an all-female rock band, and they are awesome. They're so good. And they sort of had a guy from, I think it was either like Kerrang Radio or something like that, sort of doing like up next is this band and everything. And when they left the stage, he was just like, oh, what a lovely jumpsuit the drummer was wearing. I was like, right, okay, okay, well, she was also like one of the best drummers I've ever seen live. They were so awesome, and you chose to comment on what she was wearing. And it was a big problem, and it's like Download this year has 3 bands, I think, give or take, which had like a female artist in or just female artists, and it was really bad. And honestly, I'm very much on the fence of not going, because I don't want to give my money to a company that's just booking male artists. I don't want to do that, especially for everything that I stand for and for everything that I do in terms of getting more women in the music industry. And I don't want to support that. I don't want to give further money to a company that's not going to up the representation. So yeah.
Will I fall into the yes category as well? Like, I would still go if my favourite band, doesn't matter if they're male or female, I would be there if my favourite band were playing. But do you think it needs to, the lineups need to change, or not in fact of bring it, obviously they need to bring more women in, but do you think like the way the lineup is structured, with that graphic that you mentioned, they were all near the bottom as well, weren't there? There was no one headlining, there was nobody. What do you think? Does the structure need to change?
I don't know, I think there's a really interesting thing that popped up along the lines of what you just said. In Glasgow, I think, there's a festival called like King Tut's, and I think it's based around like a bar or something. I don't really know much about it. My friend lives in Glasgow and she sort of told us about it. But they were sort of under fire for not having any female artists whatsoever. So last minute they just set up a tiny little side stage called Queen Tut's and just made it like all female artists. And it was just like, right, okay, well, have you done that because you're stressed out about the backlash you're facing? Or are you doing that to actually be like, oh, actually we've not included any female artists, let's go and do it. So it's like, you know, it would be great to see more women in lineups for festivals, especially the big ones, because there's so many women that they could be booking who would absolutely kill it. Like, they would be so awesome. Like, honestly, like, I'm rubbish at thinking of things off the top of my head, but I could suggest so many amazing female artists for even the local festivals that are happening, and it's a shame not to see them included and to be sort of subsidised for again like an absolute generic indie boy rock band. And it's like, right, okay, I've seen enough of that, I want to see what the girls are doing now. So again, yeah, restructure the lineup. Even if you know there's a band of female artists who aren't as popular, it's probably because they haven't been given enough of a chance, probably because they haven't been given headlining shows, have just been chucked on as a support act, but they're phenomenal. Like, all you need to do is just sit down and listen to them and see how good they are, go to one of their gigs, amazing, and put them on the lineup, put them a bit higher up, and just see what they can do, give them a chance. Because I just don't think that's happening. Like, I just never see it. I never see, like, you know, there's a lot of bands that I've worked with who are like all female or just all female artists and things like that, and they just never seem to be given headlining shows. They're always the support act or the warm-up act, and it's like, actually, if you gave them a headline gig, if you just invested a little bit more time and money into them, you could watch them just absolutely soar at the top of lineups for major music festivals in the UK so easily as well. So,
well, in the northeast there is Women on Mint Festival, which happens in Newcastle, which is all-female festival. Do you think the big festivals need to do an all-female festival, or do you think that maybe that is a way?
I don't know if it needs to go as far as that. Like, it just needs to be equal, like an equal playing field. That it's about them. I don't know. That makes sense, but. Do they have to go to the extreme of dividing men and women? Can we not just all be together?
Yeah, well, exactly that. Because, I just think we should all be equal, and not the women should be more pushed, the men should be less pushed. And to quickly go back to the lineup thing, a couple of festivals did alphabetical order. I am such a fan of that. It's amazing, because if you want to see a band and you just go to the S or whatever, and that also doesn't show that like all the women are down. Like, if your name starts with an A, then look at you, you were in the beginning. I think that's really good. But yeah,
think, sorry.
No, yeah, just one bit pro, that's what I want to say, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Park Life, although I'm not a huge... Well, actually, there's a couple of artists going to Park Life this year where I'm like, I really have to go. But Park Life's poster was just like, basically like a black background and then just a bunch of like artist names everywhere. It wasn't necessarily clear who was headlining or not. It was just all on one poster, and I love that.
Great.
Like, it was so good to see that. So
as we are celebrating International Women's Day, we've asked everyone that we speak to, if you had to pick one, which woman inspires you the most in your life?
I'm going to go for someone that no one here probably knows, but she's a Dutch tour manager, and her name is Anna, and she worked with so many big national and internationally known bands, and she was one of my guest lecturers in my course, and I adored her. And actually what we did together, she set up a programme, because in the Netherlands it happened as well, that a man on national television said there aren't just as many, women just don't make music as well as men do, which instantly got like, you sorry, what? So me and Anna and another group of students from my uni, we set up a website with all female Dutch artists, all of them together, and we went like, this is what there is. So if you're a festival programmer or you work in a venue, if you don't think there's enough women out there, just go here. So I think we need that in the UK, even though that would be a lot bigger than the Netherlands, but still. So yeah.
Jamila, who's your inspiration?
Oh, I'm obsessed with Beyonce. Like, I'm obsessed with that. Like, not only though is she an incredible vocalist, but I just love her work rate. I love the fact that she's on top of everything. Like, vocally, she's up there. She can do the performances without being out of breath. But I love the way that she presented herself. I was never reading about her in newspapers, falling out of clubs, drinking, and that's what I looked for when I was looking for someone to look for. So if I could be anywhere near that as an artist, I feel like I'd be buzzing. She's my number one.
I've got to say it, Taylor Swift, all the way.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if anyone watched her documentary, but
Absolutely.
I think everything she stands for, everything, and even her writing, like, she says her feelings. I grew up listening to her albums because I felt like every song I listened to, I could relate to my life in some kind of way, and I just love her, absolutely love her.
Abby, what about you?
I seriously don't think I can boil it down to just one, because there's like a bunch of women in the local industry that continue to inspire me and support us every day. I think, I'll try and get it down to like just a few, but Becky Owen is someone that I work with on a regular basis, and she is one of the most awesome women that I've ever met, ever.
She works at the University of Sunderland, doesn't she?
I'm not too sure, actually.
I think she does.
She does a lot of amazing things everywhere. So she basically started Becky Owen in the Refuge, which is her project, and it's basically like an all-female collective. So everyone in the band, and they're all really cool people. They're all women, really talented people, and I'm their sound engineer for the live stuff that they do when I can, when I'm available. And I just love working with them. They worked with a female producer who's Julie Bartley, who's another one of my people that inspires us. And yeah, like they are like a phenomenal group of people, and they work really hard and put a lot of effort into what they do. In terms of sound, Kim Watson, she works just about everywhere. She works at the O2 predominantly. She's been on tour with Blondie doing sound. She's incredible, and she's gave me loads of support in terms of like even just going down to London doing training and stuff. She's recommended things for us. You know, she gave me a lot of experience last summer, just doing like little bits of like work experience, going out, teaching us how to do different things. She's awesome. And you might know Lisa Murphy.
Yes.
I love Lisa Murphy.
Yeah.
So Lisa Murphy works in Blast recording studios, and she was one of the first people that I ever spoke to about doing sort of women in music projects, and she was really supportive of it. She's always there to be like, oh well, you know, if you ever want to come down to Blast and do this, and like, so I'm going to be recording podcasts really soon, and she was like, oh, if you want to come to Blast and do one, that would be really cool. And I was like, yeah, that would be really cool, because it's an awesome studio. But yeah, I think like I can't just do one. I really can't, because there's just so many people that inspire us, especially locally. So yeah.
Well, just to wrap things up then, so any advice you would give to anyone that's maybe the younger you, or someone that's inspiring to be like doing what you do? What advice would you give, and anything else you would like to add?
I tell little me to not let any hurdle slow us down and to just keep going, never stop.
I'd say younger me, I was so scared of it for such a long time to actually just be me and do exactly what I want to do. And looking back now, I think, why? Because what's the point if you're not just doing what you want to do and the way you want to do it? Don't let anyone make you feel stupid.
I would have to say, if I was going to speak to someone that was younger than me who was interested in sound engineering, or any woman that's interested in doing sound engineering, do not tolerate misogyny and sexism. Just don't do it, because the moment that you do, it sneaks back in and people think that you're going to be okay with it. Don't let it happen. If someone's making you uncomfortable, speak up. If someone has said something that you don't agree with, don't just laugh it off. Say, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not happy that you said that. I don't like the fact that you've brought up the fact of my gender. Don't like that at all. If I had something to say to my younger self, be a bit more confident, own it. Like, you know, I've always been like a sort of tall, clumsy, embarrassing person. I still am, but I was sort of very like, I used to try and like put up a barrier and be like, oh yeah, I'm not that person. I'm just really calm and cool all the time. I'm not. I'm like a total dork, and I should have just accepted that from like day one. And I've profited from it now. I'm great for it now. So yeah, just be yourself, be comfortable, and don't tolerate negativity. So yeah.
Finally, Laura.
There's a Dutch saying that goes, no is what you get, and no is what you got, and yes is what you can get. So always just ask. Just go for it.
Well, thank you all for joining me. Laura, Sophia, Abby and Jamila. We have sadly run out of time, but don't worry, this is only the beginning of the International Women's Day week celebrations on Spark. All day today on Spark you will hear only women voices, that's in the presenters and also the music. Today's also kicking off our International Women's Week here on Spark, and it's a breakfast takeover which will be full of interviews and more discussions just like this one. As well as that, our FEM 2020 podcast, which will be dropping online throughout the week. I'll be back on Wednesday Breakfast, but until then, peace and love.